It would be a rare person who visited Grand Canyon and didn't wonder what it would be like if there were a tramway or zip line running into the deep canyon. And that curiosity might turn to desire if you were lugging a 40-pound pack out of the depths of the canyon on a 100-degree day. Internet know-it-alls might tell you there's never been a single cable running into the canyon, and they're right. There's been not just one cable, there have been many. Sitting here on the south rim of the historic village of Grand Canyon, it's hard to believe the best documented of Grand Canyon's tramways sat right behind me. It was installed in 1931-32 to carry supplies to build a system transporting water from Havasupai Gardens, then known as Indian Garden, to the south rim. There's an impressive photo of the tram carrying a truck down to the construction site, and tractors and trailers were regularly used constructing the water system. Well, you might say, maybe there was a tramway that carried construction equipment to Havasupai Garden, but people never rode it? Wrong again. Passengers regularly rode this tramway, including the workers, who avoided the need to hike the steep 4.5 miles to work, as well as regular riders like famed Grand Canyon designer Mary Coulter, who rode the tramway on her way to inspect Phantom Ranch. The tram covered about half of that distance and certainly sped up her trip. The tram ran down to a tower near 3 Mile Rest House, then along a single span that terminated at Havasupai Garden. Many photos document the route and the excitement of being suspended in a tram car watching the canyon pass below. The proximity of the Indian Garden Tramway to the Cole Brothers studio, just steps away, probably led it to be the most documented tram at Grand Canyon. The Indian Garden Tramway was removed in 1932, preserving the scenic beauty of the canyon, and you must admit, it was pretty ugly. Well, you might say, there's that one tramway, but there were no more. And that would be wrong. There have been at least 3 tramways running from the rim of the canyon into the deep canyon. The Hermits Rest Tramway ran from the area of Pima Point to Hermits Camp on the Tonto Plateau below, a distance probably a bit longer than the Indian Garden Tramway. It carried supplies to the Hermits Camp, which opened in 1912 as the first below-the-rim resort. The tramway operated between 1926 and when the camp closed in 1930. One visitor noted it took 30 minutes to transport supplies on the tram, but forgotten items could be zipped down independently in 30 seconds. Now, there's no evidence that the tram was used to transport passengers, but one must wonder if young, energetic workers might have taken a ride unofficially. The final South Rim tram was at the Orphan Mine, where workers rode a mine bucket to the plateau below. The Orphan Mine was located right next to a hotel, and there are rumors that hotel visitors would tip the miners for a ride down. That bucket, incidentally, was used to transport uranium ore, so the passengers may have given it a glowing review. The final tram is less well documented. Like the Indian Garden Tram, it was used to construct a water supply system, but this time for the North Rim in 1927. The tram ran from an area near the North Rim Lodge to Roaring Springs, where an ambitious project constructed a hydroelectric plant that generated energy to pump water from Roaring Springs to the North Rim. The other trams were not as long and were used to cross the Colorado River. From 1907 until the first bridge was built in 1921, Rust's cable car took people to Rust's camp in what is now known as the Phantom Ranch area. A second cable was constructed by the CCC and crossed the Colorado River near where the Silver Bridge is now located. That tram was critical to transporting CCC workers to the south side of the river, where they blasted the river trail out of solid rock. Until the river trail was completed in 1936, visitors could only cross the river at South Kaibab Trail. And finally, a third tram car in the same area, the USGS cable car over the river, where they measure water levels and so forth, is still used to this day. So, you might say, there's plenty of evidence of tramways, but what about zip lines? Here's a photo of a park ranger using Rust's cable to cross the Colorado River, carrying himself and some supplies to the other side. That sure looks like a zip line to me. Plus, there are abundant other photos of workers and daredevils on the cable with no tramcar whatsoever. And it's hard not to imagine the youths of the CCC, aged 17 to 25, not trying out their cable as a zip line, although no photographs exist of this prohibited activity. In addition to Rust's Tramway, there were trams across the river at Bass Mine, where someone caught this amazing photo of a horse falling out of the tram car. And hey, that horse survived unharmed. Various other tramways have been built for movies, and there was one in the West Canyon for a guano mine. And finally, there is the grandest tramway of all, which was planned to stretch from the south rim of Grand Canyon to the north rim, planned by the railroad in 1919. They completely surveyed and began construction of the project, and they reached the highest levels of government for approval until the new head of the National Park Service, Mather, after whom the campground here at Grand Canyon is named, who said, no, we will not have these unnatural contrivances in Grand Canyon. We will keep it in its natural state. So you can either thank or curse Mather for the absence of a tramway running from the south rim of Grand Canyon to the north rim. So no, there are no operating tramways or zip lines in the Grand Canyon today, but a look back in time demonstrates there were a number, some of which stretched more than halfway to the bottom of the canyon. Sometimes history provides what the mind imagines. Thank you for watching.